with yet another video. This is one of the videos that people actually really seem to like, where I'm talking about my jobs and my job experiences. Keep in mind this video is going to be a little bit shaky because I am holding my camera and I don't really feel like making something to prop it up on, so I'm just going to hold it. And of course, you know, of course I don't have a steady hand because I'm holding my phone. But let's just get right into it. Oh, if you guys hear music in the background, my mom is like in one of her cleaning moods, so she's singing and playing music hella loud for no goddamn reason. But I'm gonna try to talk as loud as possible. So this is going to be a video about Chick-fil-A and how I got the job, the interview process, what it was like, so on and so forth, and why I no longer work at Chick-fil-A. So let's get into it. So around January, don't remember exactly what time January, but in January, I started looking for second jobs, just because I work retail right now and this is our slow time, and you know, I just needed something else to do to make more money and just have more money in my pocket and pay my bills. So I was like, okay, let me look on Indeed. If you don't know what Indeed is, it is a website where you basically upload your resume, and then you just search for a job that you're interested in based off of like retail. If you want to be a cook, if you're looking for receptionist jobs, dental assisting jobs, you just put in the search bar, and it shows you all the jobs within your area, within like wherever you live, the New York area, Michigan, LA, I don't know, wherever your area is. And then you basically from there you just upload your resume to that job, or sometimes Indeed will send you to the job's actual job website and you would apply from there. And sometimes you can leave your resume open publicly, and other jobs can actually look at your resume and contact you if they're interested in you. So yes, I was looking on Indeed, and my boyfriend has sent me a bunch of jobs that he found on Indeed, and Chick-fil-A was one of them. So at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little apprehensive, like, oh, Chick-fil-A, restaurant business, like, oh, you'll do people's food, people's attitudes, it's gonna be super busy. But I was like, you know what, let me not complain, let me just give it a shot. You never know how things are gonna be. You can't judge something based off what you think. You kind of have to give it a chance. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna be positive it's gonna work out. I'm gonna give it a chance. So I applied through Indeed, which that just the beginning of the applying process was super annoying, because not only did I found the job on Indeed. I found the Chick-fil-A opening on Indeed, but then from Indeed it sent me to another website where I had to make a whole, like, I basically had to sign up for that website and then apply Chick-fil-A there, and then from there that that website emailed me a link to then apply. It was like so many different things that I had to go through in order to actually apply for the job, but I eventually applied for the job. And oh, before I actually applied, so yeah, I applied for the job online, but then I got an email a few days later basically saying that apparently I applied through Workforce One. I don't know if every state or every country has this. I'm pretty sure not every country has this, but I don't know if every state has this. But Workforce One is basically just, how can I explain it? It's basically just like a hiring agency, like a job agency, and you just go there and they always have different job openings, and that you just bring your resume and have like an on-site interview. It's just a preliminary interview just to see if you can move on to the next round of interviews with the actual company. So it's really good if you're looking for a job, like a really fast job, as far like you don't need a degree for, like if you have a high school diploma, or they have like nursing jobs and whatnot that they offer training for you, and the pay is always pretty good. So I do recommend trying Workforce One. Just keep in mind when you do go through Workforce One and you do the paperwork, they will email you a ton. Like they email me at least 3 times a week with different jobs, which is kind of annoying. It's helpful, but then it's really kind of annoying as well. So yeah, check that out if you do have it. Just look to see if you have a Workforce One in your area, in your state. But yes, I went to Workforce One, the building, and I had my on-site interview. Basically, it was like people who didn't work for Chick-fil-A, but they represented Chick-fil-A. They helped with like their interview process. And I was just in a room with like 5 other people, I believe. And they showed a slideshow of like the brand, Chick-fil-A brand, the history behind it, their growth, sales, as far as how many stores they've opened, where they've opened them. That was pretty much it. Just like a background history on the brand and what they've done and how they've elevated throughout the years. And then from there, you know, we did the usual introductions. We all introduced ourselves and whatever, and why we wanted to work for the company. Keep in mind that Chick-fil-A isn't, if you have experience in the restaurant business, that's always a plus, but they don't really go based off of your experience. They're not really big on your experience. They're more big on your personality, the customer service. If you've been to a Chick-fil-A, if you eaten at a Chick-fil-A, then you know their customer service is by far one of the best customer service for the restaurant fast food industry ever. Like, they have amazing customer service. I give it to them because they trained our asses off about customer service. Like, they're very, very big on customer service. So yeah, you don't really need the experience. Like, if you've never had restaurant experience, that's perfectly fine. As long as they're just mainly like, oh, customer service, customer service, customer service. They just beat that into your head, customer service. So that's fine. So yeah, after we introduced ourselves to one another, what did we do after that? Oh, we played this like game. Honestly, the game was a waste of time, but it was fun. I'm not gonna go into the details of the game because, like I said, I feel like it had nothing to do with the actual interview, in my opinion. I guess it showed us teamwork. I don't know, but yeah, after the interview was over, they started pulling like one or two of us out of the room, I guess, to tell them whether or not they moved on to the next round. So I'm not sure who moved on to the next round and who didn't. By the end of it all, I was the last one in my room, so they just kept me in there and just told me like, oh, you moved on to the next round. Here's this paper. You got to go to the Chick-fil-A and basically have the interview with the actual company. I was like, okay, fine. Like, that was cool. Keep in mind, not everybody's interview is going to be like that. Like I said, not everyone goes through Workforce One. Some people just go directly to the company and have the interview with them. So yeah, your interview may not be like mine. So when the day came, I finally went to the actual Chick-fil-A. Keep in mind, I do live in New York City. So many of you may know what Chick-fil-A I'm talking about. Many of you may not know what Chick-fil-A I'm talking about. I'm not going to give the direct location of where I worked. Again, just because I don't feel like I have to and I don't want to. But the Chick-fil-A that I worked at in New York City was brand new. It hadn't even opened when I got hired there. It was still being built and they were still working on it. So when I went to the interview there, I basically just went to the interview, regular interview. I got called. Obviously, New York, they separate people when they're doing interviews. So I was speaking to one of the head managers. I didn't know at the time that he was going to be one of the managers at the store. I thought he was just like a manager of the company. But no, he was the manager of the actual store that I was going to be working at. And okay, my sneaker box just fell. But yeah, he was the actual manager of the store that I was going to be working at. We sat down, had the interview. The interview was actually pretty good. He had asked me, you know, about my experience. Not that that mattered. My customer service experience. I told them that I did have this is where the story gets a little bit interesting. So I did tell him at the time, like, okay, well, I do have another job that I'm working at right now. So this job, I would only want to be working 20-25 hours the most a week. Which he said, okay, that's fine. You know, we don't have a problem with that. That's perfectly okay. They were hiring for full-time positions, but they did allow some part-time people to work there as well. Just because, you know, if you had school or whatever, obviously you can't work full-time. So he was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's not a problem. Yada, yada, yada. And in the end, he basically said, oh, you know, you got the job. I was like, oh, okay, like, thank you so much. I was so excited. I'm going to tell you my pay rate. Please do not expect your pay rate to be like this because I live in New York City and the location that my store was in. It just made sense that my pay rate was so high because of the location. We just was expecting to make more money than most. So don't be upset if when you get hired, depending on where you're getting hired at, you're making $10, $11 an hour. Like, that's perfectly fine. It just goes based off of your location and where your store is. Now, me personally, and everybody that I worked with who got hired there, we all started off making $15.50 an hour. I know that's a lot. That's why I wanted to work there. $15.50 an hour, and I would basically be working at the register. So I was like, okay, so fast forward to my training. Like I said, my interview was in January. I got hired. My training wasn't until February 20th, like 20 something. It was like February 20 something. I remember because it was a couple weeks after my birthday, and I had to take my nails off. If you work in the food industry, you cannot have nails, you cannot have piercings. So this I was supposed to take out. I was not taking this out because I had just got my nose pierced like a month before, and I was afraid that it was gonna close. So what I actually did was I took out the little stud that I have now, and I bought a clear nose ring, a retainer, and I put it in there, and then I covered it with concealer. And I was just like, oh, it's a birthmark, because I wasn't taking my nose ring out. I'm sorry, I don't care. Which I'm happy I didn't, because I ended up not even working there. So yeah, don't follow me. I'm probably not a good example of somebody you should follow, but yeah, that's what I did. So yeah, I did my training. Training, like I said, was basically all about customer service. You also do get measured. Before you start training, you have to go do like your paperwork and whatnot, sign whatever they need you to sign. Then you figure out what days they want you to come in for your interview, for your training. And then you get measured for your uniform. So I got measured for my uniform, and then when I went to training, I received my uniform, which that uniform is ugly as hell. I don't mind the red shirt. The red shirt is pretty cool, but the pants, if you're curvy like I am and you are thicker in places, the pants are not flattering. It looked like I was swimming in them. I actually had to get them sent back because they were too big. So yeah, that's just a heads up. So we went to training. Training was cool. They brought in like other managers and supervisors from other stores around the country to come in and basically train us on what we were doing, how the machines work, how to make certain drinks, how to measure out drinks, the food, how to clean and where cleaning products go, and talked about like the fryers and safety hazards and yada 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 yada. So we did the training. Mind you, I'm there for all of that. Training was paid. Orientation was paid, I think. I think it was paid, yeah. Also at Chick-fil-A, you do get paid weekly, so we got paid every Friday. If you had direct deposit, you got paid every Friday. If you didn't, I think you got paid like on Saturdays or something. So we got paid every Friday. I was like, oh, this is a cool job. Like, I get paid every Friday. Every week I'll be having money. And on my other job, I get paid every other week. So I was like, okay, I'll never be broke. Like, I am good. And it'll be a lot easier for me to save. I thought so. So after we did the whole training process, they showed us how to set up the schedule. Like, it was an app we had to download that had our schedule and stuff on it. It's like, okay, cool. They showed us how to use the app. So fast forward, my training was like February 20th. The store opened like March 1st, March 2nd, like the beginning week of March. The schedule comes out and I'm not on the schedule, which made sense for me because I believe opening was March 1st and I had requested off March 2nd and March 3rd because it was my nephew's birthday weekend. He just turned 1 and I was like, I'm just gonna spend the weekend with him, and it was his birthday party. So I was like, I'm just gonna request 2nd and 3rd off. It got approved. I was like, okay. So when the schedule came out and I wasn't working the first week of March, I wasn't really surprised. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, a lot of people wasn't scheduled to work March 1st. So I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's backtrack to when I was talking about how I had to come in and do the paperwork and orientation and whatnot and get measured for my uniform. So at that orientation, they also had me fill out an availability sheet. Again, I mentioned when I was being interviewed that I had a second job. They said it wasn't an issue. So when I filled out my availability sheet, I filled it around me having my second job so that I can do both and still have time to sleep, basically. So my availability that I made for Chick-fil-A was, okay, mainly, overall, it was me working 8 a.m., sometimes 9, but mostly 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., basically. 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's like 4 or 5 hours, right? Depending on the day. So I was like, okay, fine. Mind you, the guy who's sitting there, like, watching me fill out my availability sheet, he looks at it. When I give it to him, he's like, okay, signs it, and he's like, you can move on to the next station and go get measured for uniform. Everything was okay. Nobody said nothing to me about anything. I was like, okay, cool. So let's go back to scheduling, right? So opening week comes and I'm not scheduled. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I had no issues with that. I'm like, I'll just start next week, right? Sure. Now, our schedule was supposed to be out every Thursday. That was what they said. It was supposed to be every Thursday, but of course it was a new store opening, so everything was a little hectic. So sometimes we got it like late Thursday night, sometimes we got it Friday. It really just, it was all over the place. So once I got the opening week schedule, I seen I wasn't on there. I was like, okay, fine. So opening week comes, obviously I'm not working. So I'm waiting for the manager to upload the following week's schedule. Waiting. So it finally comes through. I get the email saying that the schedule app was updated and your schedule is now available. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like excited. Like, okay, I look, I'm still not scheduled to work. I was like, okay, that's very interesting. Why am I not being scheduled to work? So that whole week, I wasn't scheduled. So I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't need me. Maybe, you know, there were a lot of cashiers that, you know, had time or whatever, and they just didn't need me. So I didn't say anything. I said nothing. I'm like, okay, I'll be on there next week. So we get the schedule for the following week, for that next following week, and I'm not on that schedule. So now I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on? I've had my schedule for 3 weeks now, and I'm not on any of the schedules. Like, now I'm getting real suspicious because I'm just like, what is going on? So of course I'm still working my other job while, you know, this is all happening. I'm still working my other job. So eventually, you know, I have a day off from my other job, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A, because no, actually, when I noticed that I wasn't on the schedule for like the past 2 weeks, I had emailed the manager through the scheduling app, and I asked them, like, oh, you know, just checking to see, you know, why am I not being scheduled, you know, what's going on, just FYI, I haven't been scheduled. No response whatsoever. Nobody ever emailed me back. So like 4 or 5 days go by, and I finally have a day off from my other job, and I'm like, you know what, I'm taking my ass down there, and I'm gonna see why have I not been scheduled. So I go down there. Mind you, we're already opened. It's still kind of like grand opening, not grand opening week, but the following week of grand opening. And the line was so fucking long. It was like by the front door. That's how long the line was. So at first I was waiting online, but then I'm like, why am I waiting online? I could just go straight to the manager. So I walk up to the guy. Now, the guy who originally interviewed me, and I told him that I had another job and I can only work 20 hours a week. I had spoke to him when I went to the store, and I was like, oh, hey, such and such. I'm not gonna say his name, but I was like, hey, such and such, is there another manager available? And he was like, yeah. Well, he's like, what do you need? I'm like, is there another manager available? Because or are you the only one? And he was like, yeah, it's just me. Like, everybody else is busy. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I just came to talk about my schedule. So he's like, oh, yeah. Who are you? What's your name? What's your name again? I tell him my name, and I'm basically like, I haven't been scheduled for like 3 weeks. I haven't been on the schedule for the past 3 weeks, or, you know, the 3 weeks that he had already released. Come to find out, the guy I was talking to was actually the guy who did the scheduling. He did my scheduling. And he was like, oh yeah, I do the scheduling. What's your availability? So I tell him, like, oh, it's from 8 to 3 p.m. He's like, oh yeah, that's why I haven't scheduled you, because we don't have any availability around that time. So now I'm standing there like, when the fuck were you gonna say something to me about this? At what point in time were you gonna either email me, call me, ask me to come in? Like, when were you going to communicate to me that that was an issue? Why is it that it takes me to have to come all the way down to the store to find out that my fucking availability is an issue? Mind you, I done did orientation, I done did training. Nobody has said anything to me about anything. Okay, so he's like, yeah, the only availability that I have around that would be around your time is 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. So now I'm like, well, I can't work 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. I have a whole other job. Like, I would have to, from here at 2 p.m., I would have to go straight to my other job, and we don't get off until, right now we're getting off at 9:30 because hours is slow, but soon we'll be picking up and we'll be closing at 10 o'clock. I will not be getting home until like 11 o'clock. For me to have to sleep, get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and wake up and have to go back to Chick-fil-A. I'm just like, that doesn't work for me. I can't do that. And he literally, while he's talking to me, he has this like smug like smile on his face, like, oh yeah, the only availability I have is 5 a.m. to 2. And I'm just like, I just wanted to punch him in his face. I'm like, why are you smiling like that? Like, what? So I'm like, yeah, well, I basically told him, like, well, I can't work 5 a.m. to 2. Like, I can't do that. I have another job. And he's like, oh, well, literally, this is what he said. He's like, oh, well, you can bring your uniform in then when you come to pick up your last check. And can you send us a resignation letter as well? Oh, excuse the hell out of me. Oh, this is how we're doing it. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. He's like, yeah, just make sure you bring the uniform in because that comes out of like our budget or whatever. Like, we paid for it, and it's like $100 something for the uniform, whatever. Keep in mind, the uniform, you get 2 red shirts and two pairs of pants and a belt. Mind you, I had already fucking bought non-slip shoes. So I'm thinking I'm working there. I got hired. I'm thinking I'm ready to work. I got my non-slip shoes, my uniform. I'm prepared. I got my little name tag, everything. I'm prepared. To come to find out, I never even got to start the job. I never even got to say, oh, I worked at Chick-fil-A. Because I didn't. All I did was training. I never got to experience what it was like to actually work at Chick-fil-A. And that is what pissed me off the most because I felt like, yeah, you guys are so big on customer service, but yeah, you couldn't even communicate with your own staff member that their availability was a problem. And you had ample amount of time to come to me and tell me about this before the store even opened. You had about 2.5 weeks to come to me to tell me, like, oh, your availability is an issue. Do you mind changing it? Is there any way we can work around it? Nothing. Like, nobody said nothing to me about anything. It comes for a week and a half after the store done open for me to have to go up to you and say something to you about it. And then when I bring it to your attention, it's like you don't even give a fuck about what I'm saying. And you just like, oh, well, there's no other solution. Like, sorry, not sorry. So I basically emailed them. Mind you, when I was leaving, I'm on the train going home, I'm emailing him the resignation letter, and I basically put in my resignation letter like, oh, hey, this is such and such. I'm resigning from the company because I just feel like management has poor communication with the staff. I don't understand how long it was going to take for somebody to tell me that my availability was an issue, and nobody brought it to my attention. I just was going to continue to not be scheduled. Basically, you were gonna continue to keep not scheduling me. That's what you were gonna keep doing. So I did the resignation letter. They're talking about they want the uniform back. Fuck you. You're not getting your uniform back. I don't care. I'm gonna keep that uniform. I'm gonna donate it to Goodwill. Somebody go have some nice little interview gray slacks when they need a job. That's what I'm gonna do. You're not getting your uniform back. I don't give a fuck. You're not getting your name tag back. I don't give a fuck. You did not make it convenient for me, so I'm not gonna make it convenient for you. How about that? Since you're the one who paid for the uniform, good. So it's coming out of your pocket, and I wasn't even getting a last check anyway. So that's why I was like, I'm not going. Why would I bring the uniform back to pick up my last check? I wasn't even working to receive a final fucking check. So okay, so I never gave them the uniform back, and they're not getting it back. I don't care. So that was my experience working for Chick-fil-A. And yeah, if you want to try out for the company, this was just my unfortunate experience with this store. Keep in mind as well, I found this out when I was doing training. All Chick-fil-A's are not run by the same manager. So it's kind of like Domino's. That's the best way I can explain it. It's kind of like Domino's. Everything is run under the Domino's brand, but each brand has a different owner, if that makes sense. So whoever, like, I can't really explain it. So every Chick-fil-A has a different owner. So people who like want to join the Chick-fil-A brand, they basically open up their own store. You know what I mean? And that's their store. But it's not all ran by one company. Like, you know how Nike is ran by one company, and you can basically go to any Nike and use your discount. If you work for Nike, you can go to any Nike and use it. That's not how it is at Chick-fil-A. You can only use your discount, which I think was like 20% off. Like 20% off or whatever. You can only use your discount at your store. You can't go to a different Chick-fil-A store because that's owned by a different manager and they have different things that they do. So keep in mind, that's why I also say you may not be getting paid as the same amount as I do, because maybe that manager can't afford to pay their employees that much of an hourly rate, you know what I mean? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also keep in mind the breaks. The way the breaks were explained to me, I can't really go into depth about the breaks because I never worked to talk about the breaks. But the way the breaks were explained to me, if you work more than 5 hours, I think you get, don't quote me on this because I don't remember, I never took a damn break, but if you work more than 5 hours, I think you get a half an hour break, or at least that's how it was in my store. And then when you're on your lunch break, you can pick, I think, like $14 to $15 worth of items on the menu that you don't have to pay for. But if you do go over the $15 limit, then you have to pay the difference yourself. So if it's like $1 difference, then you just pay $1 or whatever. You can only get entrees. You can only get like entree meals. You can't get salads. Salads you have to pay for yourself. You can only get free drinks, but it has to be like Coca-Cola, like soft drinks, and you have to bring your own cup, your own bottle. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what kind of bottle, you just bring your own bottle to work. If you do forget your bottle, they will make you pay for a cup, and then you have to use that cup for the rest of the day. And if you forget the next day, you can't just reuse that cup you bought. You have to buy a whole new cup, if that makes sense. Like, that's how they do it. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else, because obviously I never started working, so I don't remember everything. You can't use, so say like if the store you're working at is giving out coupons for certain things, you can't use the coupons that your job has given you at other Chick-fil-A stores, at like a different Chick-fil-A location, because apparently it messes up your store's thing. I don't know, it's really like confusing. I don't know, maybe I'm explaining it wrong, but that's how they explained it to me, or at least that's how I understood it. But you can use, like, say like if you sign up for a Chick-fil-A email, like email coupons, you can use those coupons at different Chick-fil-A location, because you can't use your discount at a different Chick-fil-A location. Like, they don't give a fuck if you're an employee or not. If you're not an employee at that location, you a regular customer, sis. So you can use coupons, like email coupons, at a different location. Then that's fine. They don't care about that. But you can't use coupons. You can't use coupons at your location, and you can't use coupons from your location that your location handed out. You can't do that. Like, they will fire you for that. They're very big on attendance. I live in New York City, like I said before, so we take the MTA. We take trains and buses to work and to school and to live life. And basically the way that they explained it to us is like, well, if something happens on the train, like, that has nothing to do with them. Like, they're basically like, you live in New York City, you should know things happen all the time, and you should leave ahead of time. And we're kind of just like, but like, anything can happen on the train. Like, you never know what the fuck can happen on the train. And they're like, literally, they were just like, well, then you need to leave earlier. Like, if you're late, you're late. Like, we will, you know, write you up if you are consistently late and have a conversation with you about it. And they honestly did not give a fuck. Of course, they showed us. Of course, they trained us with the customer service and whatnot, and how to greet the customers. And yeah. I'm trying to think, what am I missing? What am I leaving off? I did uniform. I did breaks, meals, pay rate. I honestly think that is it. If I am leaving out any other questions that you guys may have, please leave them down below in the description box, because right now I literally can't think of anything else. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Like I said, you can't have any piercings. If you have tattoos, they have to be covered up. And guys, you have to have a clean shaven face, except for a mustache. I don't care if you have a mustache, but all this has to be gone. They literally did fire people for that, because they just didn't want to shave their face, or they didn't want to take out their piercings, which, like I said, I wouldn't take out mine, so I covered it with makeup, and nobody said anything to me about it. Hair has to be up at all times. If you have bangs, you have to clip them up, or put like a headband on or something and clip them up. Yeah, leave your questions down below if you have any whatsoever, and I'll try to answer them. Well, I will answer them if I know the answer to the best of my ability. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any more discussions that you would like for me to talk about, have any questions, topics, concerns, get at me, okay? I'm thinking about doing, because I did basically interviews. I did basically videos for all of the jobs that I worked at, except I believe Yankee Stadium. So if you guys are interested in me talking about how me working at Yankee Stadium, I do not mind talking about that. I will not be talking about the job that I have right now because I still work there, and I'm not gonna talk about a job that I still work at. I don't want to get fired. Hello. But yeah, have a great day, guys. If you live in New York City and you are going through this snowstorm right now, it's not really a snowstorm, but I got a free day off, so I don't care. Be safe out here in these streets, and I'll get back to you. All right. Have a good day, guys. Bye.